All right, guys, welcome in to let me remove it from the back because I don't want you guys to see exactly what we're gonna be talking about right off the top. But welcome on into I guess we would call this episode two officially of my podcast. I don't even have a name for the podcast right now. It's just gonna be called Smitty Smacks. And today, what's going on, Killer? How you doing? Thanks for joining on in here. Nice to see you here again. Um, Today we're gonna be talking about some issues that's gonna be very sensitive to a lot of people. And the reason why I say it's gonna be very sensitive to a lot of people when it comes to this Tyler Robinson and Charlie Kirk assassination is because I'm gonna tend to see things in the direction that most people may not. Probably because you've been up since 2 a.m. Oh yeah, you gotta get you some sleep. Most people may not see it. Well, some people may not see it this way. Surprisingly enough, if you look at what's been given to us on YouTube and listen to a lot of other content creators, people that's talking about this horrible tragedy, you will learn that a lot of people, well, some people are starting to see the same things that I'm going to speak on. And I wanted to say this from the very beginning, but I ended up not saying it because I didn't feel like the timing was right. But I'm also one of those people that whenever I see something that I feel like I should say, I'm gonna say it regardless. So today is gonna be the day that I'm going to say the things that I wanted to say, and now I'm not really worried about people having. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get what you know with my show. I'm not gonna pre-record it, then edit it. You say what's the and then edit it and then just give you like the final cut of the show. I think that's it. I'm not gonna say it's disingenuous when people do it, but I feel like people will um, appreciate the raw version of it a lot more. Then it also gives me a chance to interact with my chat that comes in and out. So that's the reason why I decided to do it this way. Um, and yeah, I think I'm gonna do it that way for the foreseeable future. But I'm trying to remove a background here, so you get to see the. There we go. You get to see the good, bad, and the ugly, along with myself because I'm fairly new to this anyway. So you're gonna be learning with me, and you get a chance to see the beginning process. But anyways, moving on, guys. I'm one of those people from day one, day dot. Whenever they supposedly picked up Tyler Robinson as the alleged killer in this shooting. At first, I was happy. Of course, everybody's going to be happy, especially when you see something that happened as tragic as what happened to Charlie Kirk. You really just want the FBI to finally do their job. And I was one of those people like they better not let this person get away and blah blah blah. And looking at it in hindsight, I feel like they still ended up letting the person get away. And here's why I say that. I'm not saying, well, I'm gonna say the persons get away because nobody believes the story that the FBI has given us so far about Tyler Robinson being the lone shooter, if he was even the shooter. And again, my disclaimer is this is just from my perception. This is how I see things, and the evidence of what we're seeing is making a lot more sense than what the FBI has told us from day one, which nobody believed from day one. So if anyone want to get on here and say that I'm spreading misinformation and they want to sue me for whatever, let's sue the FBI first because all the stuff that they didn't put out over the last couple of weeks is definitely misinformation and it's misleading, and we got to figure out why. But anyways, so one of the first things that stood out to me when it comes to Tyler Robinson and his quote unquote, he may have done it, but I don't believe that if he did do it, he was the only person that did it or was involved with it. Even if he was even involved with it, was when President Trump, right after the assassination, okay, have a good one. When Trump first announced that they caught the killer, and one of the first things that he wanted to let us know that they were seeking the death penalty on the killer. that stood out to me a little strange because I feel like that was a super big decision to make in the time being without knowing what was going on with the situation. So that was like the first like, this don't feel right. Um, maybe not one of those. Okay, I got you. No problem. Maybe this wasn't the right time to say that, even if you did feel that way, because we all wanted justice for Charlie. So, if he indeed was the person that took out Charlie, and he was the only person involved, then for sure he should take have the death penalty. That's my opinion. But that was a little odd whenever he did when President Trump came out and said that, and I think a lot of people have the misperception of people that tend to lean towards the conservative side of things or the quote unquote right, that we agree with everything that Trump does. That's the difference between the people on the right or people that tend to think conservative than the people that's on the left. We don't follow up. I'm not gonna say we because again, I don't necessarily say that I'm on the right or I'm a conservative, but I do again tend to agree with them a lot more than I do with people on the left. But people of my ilk, we do not just blindly believe anything that anybody says, and I think there's power in that because if you blindly believe what anybody says on any side of the aisle, then you become a radical version of that side. So I don't care. I voted for Trump, and I still think Trump was the best decision. But I'm not gonna agree with 100% of the things that Trump does. When he does and says some stupid stuff, we're gonna call him out on it. And I think that that's the importance of being a righteous person. And I don't mean like godly when I say righteous. When I say righteous, I mean that you know what right is right and wrong is wrong. And I feel like he was out of line for saying that, but it also threw up a red flag to me, number one. And I'm gonna play a quick clip of him speaking about this on a news station. But not only did he say this in the news station shortly after Charlie's death, and I mean when I say shortly, I don't mean like hours. I mean I think it was like the next day or the day after when he got up on stage at the memorial and he said it again, it started to like make me feel like guys they're really trying to close this case so they can really hush this guy up and get him away, just get rid of him just like they covered up the scene so fast, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. But yeah, let's listen to Trump here at Kirk's memorial, the same thing, calling for this guy's the death penalty.
As you know, the depraved assassin who planned and executed Charlie's killing has been arrested and charged with capital murder. God willing, he will receive the full and ultimate punishment for his horrific crime. It's a terrible thing.
All right, so I'm gonna say this again. I voted for Donald Trump. I supported Donald Trump to be president over Kamala Harris. But I also will be the first to admit that some of the things that the administrations are, some of the decisions that they're making right now seems to be a little bit reckless and forced. And I could just be wrong. I could just be being one of those people that's seeing things in the wrong perspective. But I don't think I'm alone in saying that we don't agree with some of the things that they're doing with the FBI. We definitely do not agree with Pam Bundy. We don't agree with some of the decisions that Trump made throughout the presidency within the first 6, 7, 8 months. This damn time that flew by so fast. But overall, I do still think he's doing a good job. But when I see that he's on something that I feel like that's deceiving to the people, I'm going to call it out, and this is one of them. As the president, without full facts, you should have never gotten on any platform and called for the death penalty of a person, because what that does is you are portraying to the people that you are 100% confident in the person that you got. And now this guy has a perception about him being a killer that nobody has been able to prove yet. And to be honest, it's been the exact opposite. We're seeing a lot of things now that's disproving the fact that he was the shooter. We've got so many inconsistencies with the story. First of all, we know that this was not what they call to be allegedly a 30 killer. Can you hear me? How are you hearing any wind in the background or any kind of like swooshing in the background? Let me know because I do have a fan pointing this direction. You shouldn't be able to hear it, but I feel it, so I'm not really sure how sensitive this mic is. But until then, I'll keep talking. So, okay, perfect. We for sure do not believe that there was a 30-06 that killed or hit Charlie Kirk. So, inconsistency, number one. Number two is there's been so many different versions of what happened to Charlie that has like a plausible or some truth to it that you can see, but it's been debunked. But the FBI has not fully investigated that. So if you have me on trial, especially for the death penalty, and there has been other speculations or quote unquote, what's the word I'm looking for? Scenarios that could have happened, and you do not investigate those scenarios, you are not giving this guy due process at trial. And to be honest with you, it's kind of like one of those things that get a case thrown out in court. But before I move on, hear me and hear me clearly. They will prosecute Tyler Robinson. Even if he's innocent, we could find out the only thing that could clear Tyler Robinson right now, and we're actually been seeing some footage of it, so it may happen, is that somebody comes with some definitive proof that throws a major bomb in the investigation of the FBI and what they've been telling us. So we're going to actually talk about that a little bit later on too, because come to find out, there's been footage that's been pulled up with Tyler Robinson not even being in the area shortly after the killing of Charlie, of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And the video footage is also showing that he's moving back when he leaves this parking lot. He's going back towards the direction of the incident. Like, what killer goes back to the scene of something that still has been discovered when they're trying to figure out who you are? Normally, whenever it settles down, serial killers have the tendency to go and revisit the killing scene or try to get involved with the investigation, but you're not going straight back to that scene soon as it happens. Like, that's unheard of. And it makes him seem like a dumb criminal when we know that according to his school records and his GPA, that he's far from a dumb person. He may not have been living his life the way that we thought that he should be living his life, but we can't sit here and say that the guy's a dumb person. I don't think that he would have made that decision, allegedly. All right, so yeah, back to my guy Trump. You have to be careful here because there's a lot of things that. Oh yeah, I paused it. I paused it. That's why you can't hear it. I played it from the beginning and then I paused it. But you have to be careful as the president getting on here and calling for the death of Tyler Robinson, and that stuck out to me from the very beginning as being one of those things that didn't seem or feel right. All right, so the other things we all know that we've been hearing is that there's no way that Tyler Robinson could have taken this shot on that position, gotten off that roof, but before you got off the roof, you disassembled this old style rifle, and then you got off the roof, and then you threw it back together with super glue tape, blah blah blah. I'm being facetious when I say that, but you know exactly what I mean. But something else that never stood out to me. So if they got the footage of Tyler Robinson coming off that building, why don't we see the footage before it happened? Why are we only seeing what happened after the shot? Why would the FBI not give out the information or the footage like at least a minute leading up to the shooting? Don't make sense to me at all, because I think that would debunk a lot of the conspiracy theories that other people's putting out, but it also would debunk the narrative that the FBI is pulling out. And then the other thing I would say is this: we're in 2025 where we can use an iPhone to film something across the street at 4K quality. Why is every image and every video, or every footage that we're getting from the FBI super grainy? Why is it always grainy? Does not make sense to me. Out of all the video cameras around the campus, we can't. First of all, we can't see the video leading up to the shooting. We can't see. Only thing we see is the timestamp from the shot of him taking the shot allegedly and then getting off the roof. We get this grainy photo of him in the stairwell, which I don't really 100% believe that was Tyler Robinson. In the stairwell, that picture, in my opinion, does not look like Tyler Robinson. So I'm hoping that somebody can use some kind of facial recognition technology and compare the two, so that we can get a definite yes or no on that being Tyler Robinson. I don't think that was Tyler Robinson. In my opinion, they don't look alike. A lot of the features don't look alike. But also, the lack of blood spatter on the people behind Charlie and the wall behind Charlie does not add up with it being a shot from, first of all, a 30-06. Like, no, I'm no gun expert. I do own some firearms, but I do know what a bullet would do to a neck on a person, and that's not it. That seems like that was a I would equate that to more of like a 22 sounding gun. That was not a 30-06. So when you put all that together and you think about the fact that they went and got this guy, not to mention that now the story is changing. At first, we got the story that his dad thought that saw the picture, and then the dad said that it looks like his son, and the mom agreed with it, and then they got in contact with this person that was a friend of the family, and that person orchestrated Tyler turning himself in. Come to find out, that's not even been true. That's not true. The family is expressing via Candace and other sources that they always maintain that that did not look like their son. And the only reason why Tyler turned himself in allegedly is because they didn't want him to, like, I guess, be unalive in the process of his apprehension. So everything that the FBI has been telling us so far has been in direct contradiction to what's actually happening or what we're finding out. And with that alone, here's the controversial part. It's either Tyler should not be in jail right now. He should probably be somewhere in protective custody being watched, or we need somebody else that's not a part of the FBI to directly be able to talk to Tyler Robinson, because this is not making sense. It seems like the family, nobody has any kind of interview with the family. Nobody has any interview with with Tyler besides the FBI or the prosecutors or whoever. Nobody's been able to talk to these people. And if I was being accused of murder as a person, the first thing that I would want to do is talk to as many reporters as possible to get my side out. Nobody has been able to hear from Tyler what his position is yet, period. Nobody. The only thing we hear from the FBI is that he still has not admitted to the crime. So with that being all that in conjunction with, I don't believe that Tyler is the lone gunman in this situation. And to be quite honest with you, I don't believe that he's the trigger puller at all. But that's my opinion. And until the FBI give us out some solid evidence with some good footage quality and some good photo quality that's not AI manipulated, then that's what I'm going to believe, because this all is giving me the feeling of being a patsy. I feel like Tyler maybe has some communication with somebody that had this elaborate plan to take Charlie out, and he was told to do certain things to throw off the government or whoever's going to be investigating. Maybe that's just my opinion, but one thing I do know with all the information that we've seen so far, it's impossible that he took that shot off the top of that roof. So if it's impossible that he took that shot off top of the roof and got down that fast and hit, then it's impossible for him to be the shooter if they're telling us that the shot came from that direction, which we're getting information that that's not even true. All right, so let me take some coffee. Again, this is a raw podcast. I'm not pre-recording this and I'm not editing it before I put it out. So whatever my mishaps and misspeaks are, you're gonna hear it and see it in real time. And yeah, coffee time. All right. So now moving on from that,
Because you can't let
I
that
should have
happen.
actually. This
You
is
can't
still
let that
Trump
happen.
talking about that at the memorial of Charlie Kirk. Again, I feel that it was very inappropriate. All right, so now I want to talk about um supposedly there's this lady that had footage of Tyler Robinson in the parking lot of her business, and the FBI supposedly pinged Tyler's cell phone at that parking lot at that time and went to this parking lot with all these businesses to get video footage of Tyler being there because, of course, his phone pinged there, which was, I think, like maybe 7 or 8 minutes or so. I got to get the exact time of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So within this, I think it was 7 to 8 minutes. I could be wrong. So if I'm wrong, I will correct that a little bit later on. But within 8 minutes, he's supposed to take the shot at Charlie, break down the rifle, which a lot of experts within like the gun community saying that it would take them at least 5 minutes to do. He jumped down from the roof of that building, ran to some bushes, then he reassembled the rifle, wrapped it in a towel, got in the car, and then drove to that parking lot within 8 minutes. So if that footage is indeed correct footage, which it looks like from all accounts that it is, that it's physically impossible for him to do that within 7 to 8 minutes. Again, I could be wrong with the exact like time frame that took, but if this footage is true, the FBI, Cash Patel, the government of that city has some explaining to do. And to add on to that, this business owner was explaining the fact that the FBI came to her job, her business, and requested the footage of Tyler being in the parking lot, and she was able to make some copies of it. And she was trying to get in contact with some of the media outlets. She supposedly contacted TMZ and a few other journalists or whatever. And she even reached out to Candace Owens, and Candace Owens, I guess she didn't see it because of the influx of information and video that she's getting from everybody like all over. But I did hear that she got this. She finally got her hand on this footage. So why would the FBI, if they're talking about transparency, why would they not let the American public know that they had this footage of Tyler inside this parking lot? It seems to me that they're only being selective about the things that they want the public to have, and then the things that they don't want the public to have, they say that we can't release it because it may hurt the investigation or the trial. They're even trying to say that some of the information put out like over the last couple of weeks is leading to those that video footage being inadmissible in court. Like, why would something be inadmissible to court if it hasn't been tampered with by any other any other parties? Why would it? It still happened. It's the raw source. Why would that video not be inadmissible? Doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't change the fact that oh yeah, the video footage that was behind Charlie, since Candace got her, I guess, got her hands onto it. Well, not she didn't get her hands onto the extra footage, but she was able to see it. Now they're saying that that footage supposedly not being admissible into court. So doesn't make sense. The Cash Patel, you guys are doing a horrible job. And I said it on my last episode. Candace Owens seems to be the only person doing a thorough job on this situation. And oh, I'll wait till I get. I'm gonna end out with that because that's gonna be probably the most controversial part of the show. And I'm not trying to just be controversial just to be controversial. I think it's kind of corny, but I already felt this way. And then one of those things is like, I'm gonna say what I want to say. I tend to be a little calculated when I say it because I know that there's always a time and place for things. But yeah, we'll get to that a little bit later. All right. So, anyways, we're gonna talk about some footage that is coming to light here soon, or it came to light here over the last couple of days, that's showing some inconsistencies with the FBI story, and is also pointing to a shooter being in another position. And a lot of things surrounding some of the footage that's been given out to us is not adding up. And I want to show you this clip because this is about a guy. He works in like digital film, and he's been in. I think has a big background or extensive background in working with um, Photoshop and other editing software. So he's been around since the dinosaurs was alive when it comes to like film work and stuff like that. And he's gonna break down why there's some inconsistencies in the story they're telling us, and also some footage of why this footage cannot be true of what we've seen. So let's get into that. I might want to start this from the beginning. And this is this guy. He was on the redacted. I want to just give them credit for it because I am using some of their clips from here. It's actually gonna be a lot of footage from this. This is 26 minutes long, and this guy's gonna give out a long drawn out analysis. So hopefully I don't get copyright struck for this. I'll try to pause it and as much as I can so that I don't. And again, this is coming from the redacted TV show, but it's not meant to take anything from their show. It's just really meant to get um, the side from the person who's giving them the information about video, film, and the frames and stuff like that.
Merge showing what our next guest believes is irrefutable evidence that Charlie Kirk was not shot from the front, but from the back. Jason Goodman from Crowdsource The Truth says Charlie Kirk was shot from behind using a low muzzle velocity projectile. He's willing to debate anyone, by the way, who thinks that he's wrong. So we are an open platform here at Redacted. We welcome all ideas and conversation. And we wanted to have Jason on the show so he could show us his evidence and have a dialogue with him. Jason, welcome back to the show.
I can appreciate that having somebody on the show, even if you do not necessarily agree with the analysis that they're about to give, giving somebody this platform to give out what they see, especially when they have as much expertise in the field as this guy is coming off to have. I can respect that. So big ups to the Redacted show for that.
My pleasure. Okay, so again, maybe we go back to the for people who are just new to this story, I guess. Like, what is the official story, and then what does your evidence, you say, show us?
Of course, the official story is that Tyler Robinson fired a high-powered rifle,
which we know was not true.
6 round, a supersonic rifle round that has a tremendous amount of kinetic energy. Everybody who is an expert in ballistics and hunting, which I am not, but all of the experts that I observe say this type of round would make a huge blowout even in a much larger animal than a human. You shoot a deer in the neck, people have tested it on cow thighs and things like that, and there should have been a tremendous blowout in the exit wound.
So again, I go back to my original statement. I do not believe from the video footage that we're seeing, from the evidence of what we've known a 30-06 bullet would do. A 30-06 bullet is bigger than a 223 5.56 round, and almost as twice as big. And I believe even that round would have given some kind of splatter on the wall behind Charlie, and it's even that round is likely to go through Charlie's, especially that soft tissue. I don't think there's bone dense enough in a human to stop a 30-06 bullet. This thing would completely shatter a cow femur. I think that's how you say it. That I don't. There's no way possible that this was a 30-06 bullet. But you let the FBI tell it. We're not supposed to believe our lying eyes. And that's why I say I'm so disappointed in Cash Patel. So disappointed because he knows better. He knows that we're not going for no dumb stuff. Like you didn't even have a big enough reputation to think that we would just follow and believe anything that you say. I don't get why he would do. We'll get into the little bit later.
That the small hole that we see in the front of Charlie Kirk's neck, that he bleeds out of in a very disturbing way in a lot of the videos that people have seen, that is an entry wound, because entry wounds from rifle rounds are small, exit wounds are large. And of course, we have a lot of people who have audio waveform analysis, acoustic triangulation, that they can do these so-called crack thump calculations where they're measuring the differential between the explosive charge that launches the projectile out of the gun and the sound of the bullet actually breaking the sound barrier. I'm also not a math expert. I can't directly challenge the calculations that experts make in that. I just don't do the math. But it's important to remember, Clayton, that whoever it is that did this, they have a lot of information about the public. In 1963, when John F. Kennedy was assassinated, we can debate on another day whether Abraham Zapruder was there by chance or planted there by
the
FBI.
FBI.
A lot of people have different opinions on that. But there was basically one guy that we know of in the crowd running silent film, 16 millimeter, 8 millimeter, whatever it was, even if there's 3 or 4 films. We don't have multiple high-resolution audio recordings. People didn't have access to digital waveform analysis. All of these things are available today. So we saw a similar occurrence in Butler, Pennsylvania, in that there was an assassination attempt involving a high-powered rifle. And I believe it was Mike Adams, the health ranger. He was the first guy I saw. I didn't know anything about this type of
I always question this, right? And do you think that however this situation happened with with Charlie Kirk, do you think that it was meant to go the same way with guy in Butler, Pennsylvania? Because we do know, again, they were in a rush to cremate this guy's body, which you would think, why would they do that so fast to get rid of this guy's body like that, especially when there's a accusation of him being attempted murderer of the president of the United States. So knowing that they are engaging in misdirection with the Charlie Kirk situation, do you think it's possible that the same thing happened with Matthew Crooks? Or do you think they learned from the Matthew Crooks situation and they implemented it in this situation? Just a thought.
Triangulation analysis, but he did a very comprehensive video. And certainly now, most people know that can be done. And if this is a complex conspiracy, we should anticipate that the conspirators would anticipate that public investigations would include this type of analysis, and they would want to bake into the cake, as it were, some method of fooling people who would do this analysis. And what I'm about to show you guys explains how that happened, explains why the shot did not come from the front. And I was just watching earlier today, Dr. Chris Martenson has a new video out where he's explaining more about what he thinks happened. He does rely in some of his research on the crack thump triangulation calculations, but he had a question that he couldn't answer that I'm going to answer for you, Clayton, and Natalie, and all of your viewers here today.
All right. And, I should point out, yesterday, Rob O'Neill, the man who killed Osama bin Laden, is on the record now saying that right from the very beginning, none of it made sense to him. And
I don't think it made sense to anybody, which I don't understand what the FBI don't understand about that. They just want us to shut up and believe the narrative. Oh, the case is closed, and nobody else is supposed to speak about it. And if you do speak about it, then you're sympathizers of this and that. And no, we don't believe you, and we're not gonna just let this go to waste like this. We're not gonna let this man die in vain like that, and we're not gonna let you get what you want. We're not gonna let you get what you want.
He's shot people in the face. He's like, this story is not making. Anyway, I've never shot anyone in the face, so Rob O'Neill has a vast experience doing that. He knows all too well what that looks like. Okay, so let's walk through what you have here and what you say is irrefutable evidence that the shot did not come from the front.
Yeah, and to be clear, I'm not saying that I know more than people who have that type of firsthand experience. I don't need to have firsthand experience shooting people or.
See, I tend to believe people like this because he letting you know off the rip that I do not claim to be an expert in this field, in that field, in this field, but I am an expert in my field, and using the tools that I've been taught over the years from the expertise I have in my field, I can positively prove this theory. And that's the direction he's coming from. He's not trying to disprove anybody else's theory. He's proven his theory, and you can tell that he put a lot of thought and research in calculations into this his analysis that's coming up here shortly.
Studying ballistics to just observe all of the professionals who do have that experience, Rob O'Neill, Chris Martenson, Zeb Boykin, all these other, Range Day, Bro, all of these guys who do have a lot of experience. I see the experts disagree, and that causes me to believe that we're looking at something novel. So let me show you this. This is the video that I am relying upon, and this is a composite image that I created in Adobe Photoshop. Now, to be clear, I didn't create any of these dots. These are all derived from original video frames from two different versions of the same video. Zeb Boykin is a U.S. Marine and now a citizen journalist, a YouTuber, a podcaster, and he came to my attention very early in this investigation. He was doing ballistic analysis and he went viral, and I saw him on Owen Schroyer's show, and Owen and I had the same immediate reaction to seeing this video. It was substantially higher quality than really almost any of the other videos that we've seen. Even in Chris Martenson's evaluation, he says some of these videos look like they were shot on a potato. This one exhibits characteristics that cause me to believe that it came from the original videographer from their phone. And by that, I mean it was full resolution, 1920 by 1080 HD. It seemed very high bit rate. It doesn't have a lot of blockiness or smeariness. It looked like a very good video. Now, when I contacted Zeb, I asked him to send me the video, and he did. And I began to interrogate it in some of the tools that I use, and there were some strange things that I observed about it. First of all,
now we should point out, Jason, if our audience is new to you, your background is that you do this for a living. When you worked in Hollywood, frankly, you worked on major motion pictures in the visual effects department. So you know this stuff. I think you said you started using Photoshop when you were like in diapers, basically, right?
13 years old, yes. First version of Photoshop that I used was 1.07, and I think it was 1985, 6, something like that.
So he's been using Photoshop longer than I've been alive.
Like that. But I've been doing digital imaging for a long, long time. And so that's exactly where my expertise lies. And again, experts, whether they're neurosurgeons, ballistic experts, or whatever, they're looking at all of this through the lens of distorted digital imagery. So the first step in this evaluation is we need to understand these digital videos and the digital images that we're looking at. So Zeb sent me this video, and the first thing I noticed was that it did not open in QuickTime Player on my Mac when I double-clicked on it, just like a movie from your phone would.
So I actually run into this quite often using OBS, and more than likely, if I was recording this through OBS, I would run into it with this particular video, and that has to do with the type of compression that you're using on your settings that you're using for that particular video. Now, one thing we know about iPhone videos that you don't really have those settings to switch around your format like that to make it unplayable through the apps that iPhone provides you, unless you intentionally do it that way, or if this video has been ran through a different kind of encoder or software. And that's what this guy's getting at, that this video seems to be one of the best quality images, and a lot of analysis has been given off of this video, but he's going to break down why a lot of things that's wrong with this video and why it's deceptive.
And so I started to examine it, and I first thought that it was an MPEG transport stream, but upon further interrogation, I've been continuing my investigation since we spoke, I've discovered that it wasn't that. It's an MPEG stream that's encoded in what's called high 10, which is a subset of the H.264 protocol. This is not a format that the iPhone creates. The iPhone is capable of making high dynamic range videos, but not in this high 10 format. The other thing that I noticed about it is that it's encoded at 20 frames per second. We can see right here, it's got a pretty high bit rate, but
Now,
it's 20 frames.
I don't know. I use Photoshop a lot because I'm an editor, photography for sure, and I do a lot of video editing as well. One thing that I've never seen video come out at 20 frames per second. I've never seen the option. It's always either 24, 30, or 59.999, whatever it is, which we call 60 frames per second. And then you can get some software that lets you get a lot more frames per second depending on the source that you shot it from, to give you like super slow-mo. But I've never in my life seen the option of 20 frames per second in any video of my entire existence on this planet. Never.
Frames per second. And I realize this gets technical, but it's important.
When most films, when people see films in a theater, it's usually at 24 frames a second. A lot of phones, you know, you can set it to 30 frames a second or 60 frames a second. 20, though, is odd to me.
Mm-hmm.
You're exactly right. The 24 frame per second frame rate is the cinema frame rate of a movie camera, and so digital cameras that want to mimic cinema cameras can shoot at 24. European television standards are 25. North American television standards are 30. High definition can be 60, but 20 is very unusual. And again, it's a format that the iPhone cannot create. This high 10 MPEG profile, it's not something that any Android phone, it's not something that any iPhone or action camera or, you know, consumer, prosumer camera can create. So I began to investigate this 20 frame per second file, and I found these two dots in the video, and I've highlighted them here in this image. People can see we've got this dot right here. These three dots create a line. And when I started talking to Zeb Boykin about this 20 frame per second video, days later, someone sent him the same video, but at 30 frames per second.
So why are there two different versions of a video that's been used to analyze what happened to Charlie at two different frame rates per second? The only explanation for that would be that somebody took the file that they saw and tried to enhance it to see things better. That would be the only explanation that I would see that would actually be acceptable, meaning that they try to enhance it to see things more clearly. But again, why would you do it at 20 frames per second? Because I think that's not giving you enough frames to stop and see things that you want to see. So even if that was the case, it wouldn't be that low frame rate.
Now this is where
I would probably try to get it higher frame rate if I could make something from 30 frames to 60 frames or 60 frames to 120 frames, which I probably do not have the capability to do or knowledge to do anyway.
Becomes very important. I was looking at these videos, and in order to get a 20 frame per second video from a 30 frame per second original, there's a couple of things that you could do. The most obvious would be to sort of slow it down, but then you'd play it back and you'd notice that the sound is slow, the motion is slow. There'd be certain obvious things that you could see, and these videos did not exhibit those things. Another way you could do it is you could just drop 10 frames every second, but then you'd get this sort of jerky, juddery motion that also wouldn't look natural, and I did not observe that. The other thing you could do is a complex process called optical flow, but that also creates artifacts, and I didn't observe any of that. So when I was looking at the 30 frame per second video, that's where I found this third dot right here behind Charlie's head. Now I want to be very careful to not show anything that's going to get us dinged on any of the platforms, but I'm going to switch to Adobe After Effects here, and I want to show people what I'm talking about in the difference between the 20 frame per second and the 30 frame per second video. So here we see the projectile right here. This is the second dot that I just showed everybody.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Headed towards Charlie. Now my allegation is that this originates in a video that was shot at 240 frames per second. In the 20 frame video, you see when I advance forward, can you guys see that very acute disturbance of his shirt? It almost looks like an invisible hand is pinching the collar. And
I didn't see that the first time.
You see that?
Yeah. It looks like someone's pinching it. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I allege is happening right there is that this is a low muzzle velocity projectile, very likely a bullet fired from an air rifle or an air pistol traveling at 500 feet per second. And I arrived.
He was very, very specific with the 500 feet per second, and I'm pretty sure he's about to explain why, if I remember correctly.
At that 500 feet per second number because I've applied this scale. Now, it would be a complex mathematical problem to actually measure the distance between these dots, but if we begin with the hypothesis that this video was shot at 240 frames per second, that gives us an original that is evenly divisible by 20 and by 30. If we divide a 240 frame video by 12 and use 1 out of every 12 frames, we get an even, smooth 20 frames per second. If we take that same 240 frame per second video and divide by 8, we get an even, smooth 30 frames per second. But we're using 1 out of every 8 or 1 out of every 12, and that results in a different set of frames being used to make up each video. That's how I got this third dot. But we certainly know, even with my simple mathematical skills, that 3 dots make a line. And this is a line traveling directly toward Charlie's head. The next frame of the video, he's been hit, and it comes out the front of his neck,
Okay, so that's how.
on the shirt collar.
So even though the frames from the camera wasn't fast enough to stop it or slow it down to catch the bullet moving, he was able to see certain frames that showed that dot here and then here and then here.
It's lost so much of its kinetic energy.
He's onto something.
Traveling through his
I didn't catch it at first.
body that when it hits the shirt collar, it pulls and stretches the shirt quite dramatically. I'm going to switch right now to the 30 frame video. So here we have different frames from the 30 frame video, and we see there is the third frame of the projectile. It hits him, and we see that disruption. Now this is recompressed. You can see it's much lower quality, lower bit rate than the 20 frame video. And
Right.
so now you see a different kind of disruption of the shirt. I think what's happening is this projectile is sort of moving around inside his shirt. It's been caught by the shirt like a net. And now the shirt, when the fabric relaxes, it goes back down the shirt, and it's kind of, falling out the bottom of his shirt as he's shot.
So in theory, that projectile should either be caught in his pants, his shirt, or on the ground.
Next frames, we see this exit wound out the front of his neck. Remember, the experts are disagreeing. Is this an entry wound or an exit wound? Well, an exit wound from a supersonic rifle round, which has a tremendous amount of kinetic energy, would create a big explosive blowout and a lot of material. So if he was shot from the front, it's pretty implausible by most experts' estimation that his spine could stop a bullet. Now, a lot of people say, oh, bullets do strange things when they enter the body. And again, I don't have the expertise.
All right, so we'll stop it there because I don't want to play his whole segment and get him upset at me. If you're seeing this, sorry, brother. I just thought it was a good segment that you had with this guy, so I wanted to show it, and I did give you credit as the original. So, guys, if you want to see that the rest of that interview in totality, just head over to the Redacted podcast or on YouTube. So, this guy, he did a very good job of showing what he believes is the projectile and telling you how he got to that conclusion of catching those projectiles that were appearing as dots. And I think that is kind of is probably the best theory that we have so far. It's better than what the FBI has given us. It's better than the microphone being underneath the shirt hitting them. Is better than somebody coming out of a tunnel hitting them. It's better than a lot of things. So and also you can actually see this with your eyes, and he's explaining to you how he got it that way. So in theory, you should be able to replicate it the same way to see if it adds up or not. So one thing we can say is that the FBI and their story that they're giving us is not the correct story. And I'm going to leave that at that. Now, moving on to the next topic, which is going to be a little bit hard to do, but again, if we're truth tellers, then we have to be truth tellers. And everybody immediately when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, they immediately thought of Charlie Kirk's family, his wife and his kids and his friends around him. And I was no different. I was like, man, damn, I just feel sorry for the wife and the kids have to grow up without their father. And I still am. I mean, that still holds true. But I've always been, not always been, but I've been following Charlie for a little while over the last couple of years. And I've never really just paid attention to Erica, from all accounts of him talking about Erica, that she was like the love of his life. And you can tell that he really loved her, despite whatever may have or may not have happened in the background. But one thing that was off to me was when I finally first listened to her. And actually, I never listened to the full interview or statement that she gave after Charlie was killed, which everybody says is probably one of the most powerful speeches they've ever heard. But I did listen to her at the memorial. And as I'm watching the memorial, again, everything that I said, I hold true to. I still think she's a beautiful person. And you can tell that she was trying to carry herself with grace. But in the back of my head, I thought that something was off at that memorial when she was speaking. And I could just be overthinking it. But one of the things that I noticed is that every time she would speak of Charlie, she would always look up like to her right, well, maybe her left, because the cameras is inverted. And I didn't know if that was just her trying to look at a picture of him in the rafters as if she was speaking to him, or if that was unintentionally done or intentionally done. But it kind of like always didn't rub me like the 100% right way. And even in the manner that she gave her speech, like the emotions that she gave off with every line, I'm not following her for, because she is a grieving widower. Well, she is a widower, whether she's grieving or not. I know there's a lot of thoughts and analysis of what people think about her and how she's acting in the aftermath of everything. But in my opinion, from the time she hit the stage, I got the feeling of Khaleesi from Game of Thrones. And I'm not saying that that was her intention. I'm just telling you what I felt like in the moment. It just looked very like, how can I say it? maybe she was going for with all white. She was going for the angelic look. Well, she kind of did look angelic, but it was something in her eyes, in the way she spoke, and her mannerisms during out this speech that was a little bit. I'm not gonna say it was alarming because it wasn't alarming. I had a good time watching it. I think she did a good job, but it was always like that, like I don't know. Should I be paying attention to this or not? So that was the first thing, just some of her mannerisms and the thing in the way that she spoke. And then the second thing was she made this hand gesture on stage of, I guess, I don't know, whatever it was. And I'm not saying that that was a symbolism of anything, which it probably is, because we all know that when it comes to people that um, these elites are not. Again, I'm not accusing her of being an elite, but from all the information that we're getting about her past now, it's possible. Um, but going back to my original point, my original thought was the fact that I felt like it was inappropriate to do that at his memorial, and I don't think that was something that a actual grieving wife would have thought to do, unless that was something that her and him did all the time to each other in sort of like a handshake or something like that. You know how some people have like their own couples handshake. Maybe that's was signs that they made to each other. I don't know, but that threw me off a little bit when I saw it in real time. Like it was like, why did she do that? Because when we talk about symbolisms and symbols, we often, how can we say it? We often associate that with some kind of worship. And if you worshiping any other thing or any other cause besides God, then it tends to be associated with something evil or demonic. And I'm not calling her evil or demonic. I'm just saying like that's what my upbringing was. That's what I always thought of the horse head symbol. If that's what she was throwing up, again, that could have been totally innocent and something that she was just doing to express her connection to Charlie. I don't know, but it brought me the wrong way. And then the last thing was it kind of was the thing that got me the most emotional initially when I was watching it, was how Trump embraced her during the commencement of her speech. I thought that was, in the moment, was very heartfelt, but now coming to find out that her and Trump always had a relationship in the past, so I don't really look at that as being like the most heartfelt moment that I thought it was going to be, or what I thought it was. I still do think that it was like gracious of him to embrace her like that, but that was just one of those things that I was taken back on, finding out that that she participated in allegedly some of his beauty pageants and run Miss Arizona, something like that. So I had to take a step back from the feeling that I felt in the moment when it pertains to that, as it pertains to that. And then the very, very last thing I'm going to ask you guys of if your husband that you love was assassinated or killed, and you believe that it was politically motivated or whatever, would there be anybody on this earth that would be more vocal than you at catching the killer, or wanting to know exactly what happened? I've never heard, well, not just what the official story is, but would there be any bigger investigator than yourself? It's the question I have. And the reason why I have that question is because right now, if you didn't know anything about Charlie, you didn't know anything about Erica, and you didn't know anything about Candace, you would think that Candace was the actual widower of Charlie Kirk, because she's doing exactly what I would have thought Erica Kirk would have been doing. I was expecting Erica Kirk to actually be working a lot closer with Candace at finding out what the actual truth was about who killed her husband, especially since We know she's not a dumb person, and she can see that the story that the FBI is giving out is not correct. So, with that being said, why hasn't she came out and questioned any of the narrative that the FBI has been putting out when we all know it's not true? Food for thought. Why? Candace is. A lot of other people in the conservative movement is people that's not even on the conservative side are asking these questions. Why isn't she? And maybe she is behind closed doors, but there's nothing that's leading us to believe that she is asking these questions. By every indication, she's ready to move on with the next chapter of Turning Point. And I want to end off the podcast. Oh, actually, I don't want to end it off. I actually have a clip. So that's going to give some more insight into who Erica Kirk is without me being rude or making like some statements that I will later regret, because it is a sensitive situation. I can't really determine how people should grieve and act in a time like this. Like, I've never been through a significant other dying, and I hope I don't ever have to go through it like that, or being murdered. But yeah, I want to play this last clip. It's about 7 or 8 minutes. And this guy, just like a lot of people lately, is asking the question of who is Erica Kirk? Yep, not me.
Too dark. I don't know. There's just talk about this, but now it's just gotten too weird, too dark. I don't know. There's just something very off about.
I agree, my friend.
Kirk.
There is a lot of content to be had, and we have so many amazing things down the pipeline that we are working on currently that will
unveil in due time.
I am so excited.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
lady, didn't your husband just get his face blown off like 2 seconds ago? And not to be insensitive about it, but everyone's thinking it.
So I think people held off on saying this, but it's just too much stuff going on right now to not say it. I kind of agree. I'm kind of agreeing with them when I talk about the things that I just mentioned before. She does not look. I haven't seen Candace this happy, and Candace not even his wife. She's not this lady. She seems to be like about all. I could be wrong. She could be doing things behind the scenes that we don't know about. But from every indication in every video that I've seen so far, she does not seem to be as grieving as a widower as we thought. This seems like this is something that I would see on a crime TV show about somebody that. Never mind. Let's not go there, Smitty. Don't get in trouble. Let's continue.
No one wants to be the asshole. No one wants to say it. Everyone's thinking it.
Hey, he said it. I didn't. And just for the record, a lot of people have been talking about Erica Kirk for a few weeks now. I didn't really want to do it because I thought it was a little too soon, a little insensitive, but now I think I have to, because the evidence regarding her past is at this point too overwhelming. So let's get into it. Starting at the very beginning, Erica was born Erica Lane Fronsvie. Her yearbook quote reads, "Leaders are made, they are not born." Now keep that in mind as we dive deeper here. Her father, Kent Fronsvie, as reported by Ron Unz, once chaired the Israel division of the arms corporation Raytheon.
Why does everybody that seems to be intertwined with this Charlie Kirk situation, or not just this situation, but a lot of situations, why do they seem to always have ties in one way or the other to the famous Israel? Why is that? Just a question.
Linking her family directly to Israel's military-industrial complex. Just a coincidence, I am sure. And then in an interview from a few years ago, Erica stated that the reason she moved to Arizona was because her mother was, quote, getting involved with the government.
She was getting involved with the government, so Homeland Security and Department of Defense.
Mother in Homeland Security and Defense, father supplied weapons to Israel. Just another nice coincidence there. Those will keep piling up. As you can see here in 2012, she won a beauty pageant owned by Donald Trump and then became Miss Arizona. After that, she tried to get into entertainment. She appeared in some music videos, this one from a country music band. But then at age 23, she does something kind of interesting, which is to set up an evangelical Christian organization called Everyday Heroes Like You, which developed a program called Romanian Angels, which advocated for adoptions, family reunifications, and deinstitutionalization policies for orphan children. And it operated from about 2011 to 2015. Those dates are important, which I'll get back to in a second. But yeah, I don't know, this whole thing seems kind of like a weird thing to do, to go to Romania to start a charity. This next part is where...
Well, I don't know too much about Romania and charities in Romania are here or not. I do hear a lot of people saying that there's a lot of child trafficking going on in those parts of the region, but I'm not an expert on that particular part of the world, so I wouldn't know.
It gets super dark. According to UNS, behind the slogan, helping God's forgotten children find wings, her organization was actually suspected of having been involved in child trafficking. Well,
why would this even be a thing with somebody like Erica Kirk? So that's another red flag. Not saying that it by itself means anything, but if you got a chicken bib and you have chicken feet and you have chicken feathers, we put all that together, we're gonna get a chicken. Eventually, we're gonna have all the parts to make a chicken. So that's all I'm saying. I'm gonna leave it right there.
Oh yeah, those are some heavy claims. So I looked into it deeply. Obviously, I started with the mainstream fact checkers who say that there is absolutely no evidence of this claim, of course, but I'm here to report that we actually do have some evidence. This is from a Romanian newspaper. This headline is translated, but it reads, a former translator from the American base in the city of Romania that I'm not going to pronounce, accuses, and she says that it's a real brothel operated here where minors were brought in. Quote, Anna Maria Nasiu was until recent years a translator at the American base, once again, city, can't pronounce it, Romanian name. Everything seemed to be normal until Anna Maria discovered that in this military unit belonging to NATO forces, there was a real brothel where underage girls came to satisfy the desires of some soldiers, especially the commander of the Black Sea Area Support Team base, Otto Buscher. Okay, Otto Buscher, remember that name. This next part is where the dots will connect. Okay, I'm gonna show you this video right here that was posted by Erica Kirk, then Erica Fransvi, on Vimeo. Basically, it's a commercial for Romanian Angels, and it was posted in 2013.
I believe that we all have angels in our lives, and these are my little angels.
So, I want to go back to, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Just like a half a second. This smile right here, right? So, if this is indeed true that she was a part of a child trafficking ring around these people, and she's able to put on a smile that believable, knowing what the organization is doing, if this is true, I do not put it past Erica Kirk being able to stand in front of the stage or in front of a microphone and faking her way through a memorial or through an interview about what happened to Charlie Kirk. If this is true, this will let me know that she has the capability of that high end of deception. And she did a damn good job if this is true.
These are my little angels from Antonio Placement Center in Constanța, Romania. Our goal with the Romanian Angels Project was to show these children the true American heart during the holiday season.
Okay, anyways, it's basically a fluff video, but at the end, the person she thanks is none other than Colonel Otto Buscher. Yeah, here is a copy of the criminal complaint. It is in Romanian, but you can see the name Otto Buscher, and the years 2011 to 2013 is when these alleged crimes took place. So the person that Erica Kirk was working with in Romania to quote unquote help orphan children was accused of, yeah, not good.
So why is she involved with people that is already been alleged to be doing human trafficking of little kids? Why is Erica associated with that in her past? Why? Can you answer that question for us, Erica? We need to know why. What was that connection? Why were you connected with and working with Mr. Buscher or whoever that was in Romania? Why? We need answers.
And you might be like, why have I never heard of this? Well, there's something called the U.S.-Romania Defense Cooperation Agreement that was signed back in 2005, wherein crimes committed by U.S. military personnel on Romanian bases used by U.S. forces fall under U.S. jurisdiction, especially if they occur while on duty or within the installations. So essentially, everything was just swept under the rug. This guy, Otto Buscher, just retires, and according to my research, here's his LinkedIn, he's like having a nice, quiet retirement in New Hampshire. Erica Kirk's Romanian Angels mysteriously just shuts down shortly thereafter. She then keeps a pretty low profile until she is set up on a TPUSA interview with Charlie Kirk, and they fall in love, they get married, and you won't believe this, but their wedding was actually funded by TPUSA, so.
Man. Was Charlie a mark for her? Did somebody already see the potential of TPUSA and wanted to get somebody inside Charlie that's close to Charlie enough to keep an eye on Charlie? And if she did that, and again, I'm not saying that it's 100% true. The evidence is pointing towards it. But if she is capable of participating in human or child trafficking and putting on the front that long with her organization, then, she is 100% capable of deceiving Charlie and making Charlie fall in love, and secretly doing things that he's not aware of. That's just my thought process on it. I'm not saying it's true. This is all allegedly.
Very interesting. And fast forward, as we all know now, Charlie Kirk dies a gruesome death, and she takes over as CEO of Turning Point, with the new organization now much more powerful than it ever was. So it's almost like Charlie is more valuable to them dead than alive. Not gonna say this is a honeypot. I've gotten in trouble for that before, but something doesn't seem right here.
I agree with him.
Especially because if you just look at Turning Point right now, they're not asking any more questions. They're ready to move on. They're ready to fundraise. Erica looks happy as a clam, and Charlie is basically in the rearview mirror at this point, even before we really have all the facts.
Guys, I 100% agree with this guy. She does not seem as if she is looking for any more answers. It's almost as if she believes everything that the government is telling us about what happened to Charlie. And again, to be fair to her, she could be doing things that's under the radar and that she's not putting out to the public. But from every indication that we're seeing so far, I think that we should be asking the question and looking into a little bit more about who really is Erica Kirk. And I know the person that is just the person for this job. We got to talk to Candace. Until next time, you guys have a good one.